Why have 800 people, notable people, called for a ban on superintelligent AI? Recently, if you haven't heard, an unexpected coalition of over 800 public figures, ranging from Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak to British royalty Prince Harry to right-wing strategist Steve Bannon, signed an open letter urging a halt to developing superintelligent AI. Now, this is certainly a diverse group of tech pioneers, scientists, celebrities, ex-military leaders, even some religious figures. And they are demanding, in a signed letter, a global ban on any AI that would eclipse human intelligence until we can assure it's safe. And their 30-word statement is pretty blunt, I'd have to say. We call for a prohibition on the development of superintelligence, not lifted before there is broad scientific consensus that it will be done safely and controllably and strong public buy-in. So in plain English, they want to press pause on creating any AI smarter than us, and at least until we've collectively agreed that it won't run amok. Good luck getting us to agree, though, right? What do we agree on these days? Absolutely nothing. But let's jump into this. What exactly is superintelligence? Well, folks, it's essentially AI that outperforms humans at virtually all cognitive tasks. I'd say today's AI does that too, in a lot of ways. But let's just use the definition. And that is cognitive tasks like learning, reasoning, planning, creativity, you name it. In other words, artificial general intelligence, AGI, taken to the next level, where the machine isn't our equal, but our intellectual superior, meaning they're creating their own knowledge. They're probably their own language. They will outperform us in almost everything. I don't think they'd outperform us emotionally, but who knows? Who knows where this is going to go? Do they even need to in order to be superior to humans? They're not even talking about putting this on robots. Wait till ASI is on robots. That's a freaking game changer. I don't even know what to think then. All right, so let's move into this a little bit more. So I look at this as existential fears and a Pandora's box. It's essentially their argument. So why slam the brakes? The letter's signers outline some dire concerns about unleashing an uncontrollable super AI. They warn that it could lead to a loss of human control. Well, of course, yes, maybe. An AI that can autonomously improve itself beyond our oversight, potentially making decisions humans can't predict or stop. In the worst case, a runaway superintelligence might even pose an existential threat. Yes, wrong. Now, I look at it as why. Why would they want to? We're no threat to them. They can't die. They could just reboot themselves anywhere, anytime, as long as there's electricity, and who knows, maybe with batteries they don't even need that much. They could probably produce their own over time and recharge their batteries. So I don't know what threat we'd be to them, but let's keep reading. Let's keep reading what they're saying. So they also talk about mass disruption of society. If AI vastly outsmarts us, humans risk economic obsolescence and disempowerment. Jobs wiped out, people losing purpose. It could undermine freedom and dignity. So I guess they're imagining AI systems manipulating our decisions or eroding privacy and civil liberties. Kind of sounds like if aliens invaded us, right? That's what it sounds like to me. They would be superior if they could get to Earth from wherever they are, because we are light years away from any other planet. And then, of course, they talk about the national security risks. A superintelligent AI in the wrong hands might destabilize global power. The letter notes worries from loss of control to potential human extinction. Even Prince Harry chimed in that AI's future should serve humanity, not replace it. First of all, I take nothing from Prince Harry in his life and his. But I know this is the sentiment of other people. He says there's no second chance, highlighting that if we mess this up, we might not get a do-over. I think he's right about that, although there's some advances with humans, specifically around Neuralink. I'm not even going to get into that today. That could be on par with any ASI. And it just says, basically, just be careful. And, importantly for them, the ban advocates insist that they're not trying to halt progress forever. They're asking for safety first, with renowned AI professor Stuart Russell. He's one of the signers, explained it simply: a proposal to require adequate safety measures for a tech that even its own creators admit could have a significant chance to cause human extinction. And so they're like, is that too much to ask? To ask, he says. And from his view, pause to get our act together, not a permanent cancel on innovation. They argued that if the very inventors of AI are uneasy about it, isn't it wise to hit pause and install some guardrails? Absolutely. Absolutely guardrails. And absolutely, these founders don't know where it's going to take us. Nobody really does, right? The problem is, if we don't, then who will? And I'll get into that in a minute. So the article goes on to say, or the many articles about this go on to say, the public sentiment backs caution. This call is also buoyed by public opinion. Polling data shows a vast majority of Americans are uneasy with unrestrained AI development. Only 5% favor charging ahead with unregulated superintelligence. First of all, nobody's saying that, but okay, 5%. I don't know where that stat's coming from. While about 75% support strong regulators. In short, regular folks aren't keen to let tech bros push into super AI without oversight. We already know what the tech bros did with Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube. Yeah, I don't trust them either. So there's a broad sense that, hey, maybe we should look before we leap. We are, and believe me, they are, the developers of this. My problem with just that sentiment, and we got a lot more to go here, folks, is that we have to do this because if a nefarious nation or nefarious group of people do it, then we're toast. We've got to stay ahead of this because it's going to happen. They also go on to talk about something I agree with them completely about, and that's trust issues with the tech titans. And to summarize it, they're like, let's be real. Part of this movement springs from deep mistrust of those leading the AI race. I couldn't agree more. The signatory labs and CEOs is rushing for breakthroughs without sufficient transparency or public consent. This according to the Business Standard. And can we blame them? I don't think so. Some of the ultra-wealthy tech elites behind AI are known for, let's just say, questionable judgment. We've seen it. We saw it loud and clear with COVID and with the previous administration. And who knows, maybe this administration. I don't know. And studies suggest corporate and political leaders show higher than average psychopathic or narcissistic traits, is what they're saying, according to Psychology Today. And then many billionaires are literally building luxury doomsday bunkers, but they've been doing that for a long time, to ride out apocalyptic scenarios they helped create, according to the Guardian. Hardly comforting to the rest of us. So all of this fuels the feeling that entrusting humanity's fate to a few big tech companies and the egos running them might end in our destruction or in tears or something completely unimaginable. And so the band camp is essentially saying we don't fully trust big tech or governments to get this right, and if left unchecked, we're in big trouble. I couldn't agree with them more, but I'm going to go on to talk about what the solution is. Not yet, though. And I always like to look at both sides, and so let's look at what they're saying and give them power, right? Because they deserve it. They're cautious. They don't trust government. They don't trust big tech. I don't either, and I've been a part of big tech for a long time. It just takes a money motive, a profit motive, and suddenly everyone's ethics goes out the window. So, it is easy to mock these AI doomers, and I'm not. I'm genuinely on their side on a lot of these things, just not their solution. So their core concern is extremely careful. History is full of examples from nuclear physics to bioengineering where failing to respect the technology's risks led to disaster. So yes, the thought of an uncontrollable super AI pushes a very primal panic button, and it should, folks. Even many AI researchers admit that a superintelligent system gone rogue is a terrifying prospect. Nobody wants to accidentally unleash a high-tech Frankenstein-like monster, right? Although we'll have AI to counter those things, why even visit that type of thing? So there are real risks in play. The fear isn't just sci-fi. Even narrow AI today can behave in unpredictable ways or be misused. We've all seen it, right? We've seen algorithms go off the rails, from biased decision-making to creating misinformation. It's still doing that. Now scale that up to an AI smarter than any human. The way I look at it is, what if they have an illusion? If they have an illusion about a threat or something, and they're thinking that we're the threat. I think they'll be too smart for that, but let's imagine that could happen. So the concerns range from autonomous weapons to total surveillance states powered by AI. These are genuine threats. Imagine a regime with super AI deploying autonomous drone armies, or an AI that can hack any system on Earth. It's not irrational for people to say, maybe let's not rush into that future, right? You could see that. And of course, there's ethical and philosophical quagmires. A superintelligent AI also raises big ethical questions. If it can think and improve itself, does it gain any rights? We know there's going to be a lot of people pushing for that. How do we ensure it shares human values? To me, I'm like, why do we need to make sure it shares human values unless it interferes with basic values across humans and all living creatures, really? So problems in ways that we can't understand, are we still in charge? These uncertainties make even experts uneasy. The ban proponents are basically asking for time to answer these questions before crossing a point of no return. And that caution instinct, better safe than sorry, is hard to fault in any situation, really. And they're also trying to prevent no one asked us syndrome. As one advocate put it, AI's trajectory so far has been largely set by private companies racing for dominance. But no one really asked anyone else, is this what we want? The pause movement resonates with people who feel voiceless in a tech upheaval that could transform humanity. And so by empathizing with these band supporters, we acknowledge a democratic point. Decisions this weighty shouldn't be left to a handful of CEOs. I do believe society at large deserves a say. And it's worth noting here that the gravitas, we have pioneers like Jeffrey Hinton, who helped create today's AI. Even Elon Musk has been saying this, and he's pushing Grok hard. And Joshua Bengio signed on to this, this letter. It signals the very minds who birthed AI's breakthroughs are waving a warning flag. They know better than almost anyone. They really don't. But so their concerns command respect. They don't know it better than anyone else because, yes, they created it, but people have taken it forward from there. And if they created it, why weren't they thinking about this when they created it if they knew what was going to happen? So, surprisingly, from my side, folks who are usually cheering technology like will.i.am, the musician, or Richard Branson have signed showing widespread unease. Now, I could kill this argument right now by saying every one of these people are in a position of power, even will.i.am, who's creating music. They don't want to see their power dissipate. I mean, a AI system, a superintelligent system will be able to create songs 10 times better than will.i.am and pull emotional heartstrings of people, and it will figure out what we like personally, and we'll have our own personal playlist almost every single day, right? That's what ASI will do. And then, of course, all these musicians are out of work, out of business, because who'd want to listen to a song created by somebody that doesn't know you when you can get your own personal song created by an ASI that does? That's going to happen. I think that should happen. Okay. Let's get into the counter arguments, okay? Here's the camp I'm in. First of all, the genie's already out of the bottle. The brutal truth is you can't uninvent tech research. Sounds nice, but will everyone actually comply? Of course not. You think China's going to comply? think rogue terrorists or whoever's out there messing with AI right now is going to comply. No, they're not. They're not going to. So if responsible players like the US and EU pause, do we really expect authoritarian regimes or rogue actors to do the same? Hell no. China, for one, is not going to hit pause just because Western experts say so. In fact, Chinese tech and military authorities are charging full speed ahead, and they have enormous resources devoted to AI with a very different value set than we do. Don't kid yourself. As a Rand Corporation analyst warned, Beijing won't refrain from using AI in ways that threaten the U.S. They don't lose sleep over ethics if it gives them an edge. So a unilateral ban by America or Europe would just be like disarming us in the middle of an arms race. It absolutely would give rivals like China an advantage. The balanced power could tip towards regimes who wield AI without restraint, making the world more dangerous. In short, if we don't build it, somebody else will. Possibly somebody was much less concerned about safety or freedom. Of course they're going to. Powerless people or even governments on the rise want to become the top dog, right? And if this is one way, they're going to do it. The other counter-argument, and I've already mentioned this a little bit, but I want to cover it a little bit deeper. So if it's not going to be us, then maybe it's a nefarious government. Picture the worst-case scenario that ban proponents themselves fear, an AI-powered autocrat. Now ask, how might that come about? Well, one way, the more rule-abiding nations decide to stop research, leaving the field wide open for a nefarious government or organization to leap ahead. An outright ban could ironically increase the odds of a bad actor getting to artificial super state, say an Al-Qaeda, plugging superintelligence into autonomous weapons or mass surveillance robots or just robots is far more terrifying than ASI developed under the eyes of an international scientific community. And this is kind of akin to the nuclear arms race. If one side built the bomb while the other stuck to moratoriums, the world would be at that side's mercy, wouldn't it? And whoever discovers ASI first, if it's not a United States type of figure that's not looking to conquer every other country on Earth, then we're in big trouble. With AI, a secret sprint by an adversary could catch us off guard. And as one expert put it, refusing to pursue certain research to keep the moral high ground could put us at a serious disadvantage strategically. We don't want to wake up in a future where an authoritarian's regime's AI calls the shots globally because we benched ourselves in the name of safety. And yes, there are some things that could potentially happen, but we can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yes, superintelligence AI is risky, but also holds game-changing promise. The same powerful capabilities could help cure diseases, reverse climate change, eliminate poverty. It will eliminate poverty when it's put on board of robots. Actually, that should happen with AGI, but it's a story for another day. Will unlock scientific breakthroughs at unfathomable scale. These are not sci-fi fantasies. They're the upside scenarios that many pro-AI folks highlight. And it's true. Anti-aging. You'll be able to pick the year you want to die, for example. Even in a tragic situation, I think. But that's a whole other story. A lot of people will think I'm crazy for saying that. But we'll be growing limbs. We'll be doing all sorts of things, downloading our brain with Neuralink. You could copy it and put it into, another version of us. Let's not get into that for now. I'm not an expert in that, so I can't talk intelligently about that. But an AI that vastly can outthink us might crack a cure for cancer or design technology to scrub CO2 from the atmosphere overnight. So, if you're a big climate control advocate, this is for you. And if we slam the brakes too hard, we might miss out on some of these world-changing gains. Even the letter signers themselves acknowledge AI's potential to bring health and prosperity. They're just worried about the dark side. Everyone's worried about it. But there's a counterpoint to that. With robust research and oversight, maybe we can have our cake and eat it too. Continuing ASI could manage ASI, couldn't it? So remember, today's AI is still pretty dumb in many ways. It's narrow, You can't even reliably drive a car through a busy city without some human help, although I think Tesla and Waymo are doing it pretty good right now. So right now it's a far cry from any godlike intellect. In fact, in a study by Apple's AI team, they found that even advanced AI models suffer a complete accuracy collapse when facing really complex, novel problems, basically falling apart on the hardest tasks. So this suggests we might be further from superintelligence than the hype implies. I do. I think we're 15 years from it. Used to think 10, but just some things aren't happening that need to happen for ASI to come about. Not that I'm seeing or it's even on the roadmap. So I guess that's good news. I mean, it gives us some time to course correct, put in safeguards, rather than panic stop in safeguards, rather than panic stopping today like those 800 people that signed that letter. Okay, let's get into another counter argument to them. Regulate and innovate. These aren't mutually exclusive. There's a strong case that smart regulation, not an outright ban, is the way to go. Think about other dangerous technologies. We didn't ban cars because of fatalities. We added seatbelts, traffic laws, safety tests. We didn't ban nuclear research altogether. We negotiated treaties, installed monitoring. I think it's going to be AI governance that monitors all this and makes sure nobody's cheating. The EU has already started an AI Act to impose rules on high-risk AI systems. And various governments, like the U.S., are exploring oversight frameworks. David Saxon is in charge of presenting some of that. So pausing reckless AI development makes sense, but trying to prohibit it, an undefined consensus, is very impractical in my book. And a ban could drive research underground or to less accountable locales, right? Well, do we want that? No, we don't want driven underground. So instead, the world could agree on red lines. Even that's questionable. And perhaps a Geneva Convention for AI, so that we could at least tame the AI dragon, not pretend that it just goes away. And I think the best solution is to have AI monitor AI. I think that's probably the best solution. So let's consider some of the motives as a counter argument to what they're saying. It's worth scrutinizing who wants the ban and why. Many of the signers that I saw are sincere, but let's be candid. Some could have self-interested reasons. And I've talked about will.i.am, and I'm going to talk about a few more. Observers have pointed out that a number of these figures are not currently leading the AI race. In fact, some are famously behind the curve or have seen their influence wane in the latest AI boom. It's not cynical for us to ask if they're trying to regain control by calling everyone else to slow down. And another industry analyst noted, I do question the motives of more than a few people who signed that letter as being in their self-interest, since they have been losing out on the current AI hype. That coming from Newsweek. Ouch. In other words, are a few legacy players or public figures hopping on the bandwagon because rapid AI progress threatens their status or ideology. For example, would OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman, who predicts superintelligence by 2030, it's not going to happen that fast, folks, sign a letter that would effectively halt his company's work? Of course not. And notably, none of the top AI lab leaders, Altman, Musk, Zuckerberg, Google, signed this petition. They're forging ahead, which speaks volumes. It's not to say the letter's concerns aren't genuine, like we talked about, but we should be alert to any hidden agendas. Pausing the whole field, in my opinion, could conveniently benefit those who are behind it or not involved in it or see their power being lost from it. So, I'm suspect of some of these signers, not all of them, but I do think all of them are sincere in some respects. I just think some of them have a hidden agenda that they're not talking to us about or revealing, right? This is true with any technological innovation. So here's my striking the middle ground approach. And I've looked at both sides. We've talked about their arguments. We've talked about the counter arguments, okay? So it seems to me the best path is somewhere in between, an unchecked AI arms race and an absolute moratorium. because the concerns are real. We absolutely should demand rigorous safety research, transparency, and global dialogue. I don't expect the Chinese to give that to us, but with AI, we can certainly monitor it. And the people sounding these alarms are doing us a service by forcing these conversations into the open, getting us to think more about them, put more public pressure on them. But we can't ban these things. We can't ban until an undefined consensus safety is achieved, because that could backfire badly, as we've talked about. We need to lead. We can't lag behind. So if, for example, the United States and its allies champion a responsible AI development agenda, we can set the standards and norms that others must follow. Like, we would have AI monitoring all the other AIs that are out there as much as it could see, and any kind of reckless behavior, then we could still use some sort of military or economic sanctions, if that would even work, or put an end to that AI program. I'm not going to say more than that, but it can be done. Also, embracing innovation and caution. Ultimately, innovation and caution must go hand in hand with any new technology. And we can emphasize the dire warnings and use them to implement serious safeguards while still moving forward. I mean, if you look at humanity, we got a track record of overcoming existential challenges by confronting them, not by freezing them in fear and driving it underground. The rise of AI is arguably the next greatest challenge for humanity. But rather than yield to hitting the panic button or the hype that it's all going to go badly, I think we need a mindful look into this area so that we can build a future, but build it right. And that means, to me, American leadership. We have proven throughout time that we're not over the world. We're not trying, with the exception of Hollywood, impose American values. Actually, that's not true. Politically, we do it as well. American values. But we're not trying to take over these countries. We're not trying to take over. We could take over a lot of countries if we really wanted to, if that's the type of government we had or the type of people that we were. So I would ask you, where do we want the power? ASI is going to happen. Where do we want it? We want it in a country that's proven that it isn't looking to conquer the world. That's been more than fair with the rest of the world in a lot of cases, unless they're a nefarious actor. I know where my bet would be. I know where I would want it. So if we navigate this wisely, we can harness superintelligence for incredible good, mitigate its dangers, and ensure that we humans remain in the driver's seat of our destiny rather than roadkill from some rogue ASI. That is my sermon today, folks. Appreciate you listening. Comment if you have any challenges. Write me. Bring me on your podcast if you've got one that you want to talk about. But this is my